Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Derling. My good friend Chris Preston from My Rock and Roll Heaven is here once again. Hello, sir.
Hello, good morning, Tim. How are you?
I'm very good. Chris is rocking an old school Def Leppard shirt with the On Through the Night logo. Incidentally, if you go to tpublic.com, you can get a Tim's Vinyl
That's right.
Confessions. It looks much like that. But
Oh, that's
we
everything.
are here to do something that I just love doing, and Chris is a really good guy to bounce these things off of. Also, he has a lot of singles. We are counting down the top 40 songs in the US for the Billboard Hot 100 from this date in 1985. So 40 years ago, this was
Oh,
prime listening for me. And a
me
lot of
too.
these songs I'm very familiar with. Although I'm looking at the from like 100, like in the
Yeah,
90s, and there are some I have no idea, which is
no
cool.
clue.
So maybe ones that I don't know Chris does, vice versa, or maybe we'll have to rely on the audience, viewer comments fill us in, what are these
Exactly.
songs. So yeah, so we are going to get started, and I'm going to let Chris start us off in this countdown. And Chris, take it away.
Awesome. This is going to be fun. You know, I love these, Tim. I'm a sucker for charts and countdowns. But two quick little things I noticed before we start is, well, like you said, this was prime listening time for me. I was turning 14. This summer of 85 was huge for me. I was into everything musically. So that's going back and looking at this is really brings back the memories. Not a lot of, as you'll see, interesting yet, metal on the Hot 100. That was
Right
still to
now,
come, right? So there's a
yeah,
little bit of hard rock, but there's not a lot of we hadn't gotten into the real kind of glam metal scene yet. And I've got a bunch of these on 45 and a couple others, and I'm excited to show these off. So let's kick it off with a song at number 100 by a guy I have no idea who it is. Alex Brown. Come on, shout.
yeah, I don't know this. Only peaked at 76, so I don't feel quite so bad for not knowing it. But does anybody out there know who this is or what this song is about? Genre? I don't even know that. So next up, a very familiar song, although this is the cool thing about seeing the entire 100, because I would have had no idea we're into June now. I would have had no idea the song was still been on the chart. Like, talk
Yep,
about staying power. I think of this as a winter song. This is like a January, February song for me. I'm talking about
exactly.
Phil Collins, One More Night, number one song, huge hit. And this was probably its final week in the chart, 18 weeks in the chart. So, yeah, so it's down from 81 this week, but it's incredible staying power. Like I said, I would have had no idea that this song would have still been in the countdown.
Exactly. It speaks to the obviously the quality of the song, but that's the interesting thing about this chart too when we get into it is the number of songs that like really were on the chart for a long time and they
Yeah.
stayed. Yeah, it's fascinating to kind of review these things. At number 98, another song by someone I am not familiar with, Square Rooms by Al Corley. Just new on, well, it'd been on the charts for 5 weeks, so whether it rose much higher, or it was dropping actually, it was peaked, it
Yeah.
looked like
Peaked at number 80. So
80.
I um I only know of this song because I've watched like on YouTube there are two YouTube channels I subscribe to. One is called Hot Music Charts, and one is a guy by the name of Francis Pelletier. Um, and they do the Hot Music Charts does a lot of current, Billboard charts, but they also do flashback ones. And I see this, they show clips of just short little clips of the videos,
Interesting.
and basically this is like a new wavy sounding like a pop song, and and near as I could tell, the chorus is just square rooms, square rooms, square rooms. So I don't know. This one's a mystery to me, which is this is the fun of doing this,
It
right?
is the fun. It really is. It makes you want to go in and find out what it's all about.
Number 97, another song that's been in the countdown a long time, 16 weeks in the chart. I'm surprised this song only peaked at 14. I really like this song. This is proof that they didn't just have hits with ballads at this period. Chicago, Along Comes a Woman from Chicago 17. What I also remember about this is it had a video. It was sort of like, Peter Cetera was like an Indiana Jones type
Yeah,
of type of thing. And but it's just a catchy song. It's one of those ones that comes on, you're like, yeah, turn it up.
Chicago is a great band that I didn't get into until much later. I wasn't listening to them at this point, but 17 is a great album. At number 96, from a very well known duo, Daryl Hall and John Oates, of course, Some Things Are Better Left Unsaid. This wasn't a massive hit for them, but I remember hearing it. I can't think of what it sounds like right now, but I'll have to go back and take a look.
Oh, it would come right back to you.
It
It's
would
yeah.
probably, yeah.
I remember this is like I'm listening to the radio all the time and this is on. And I loved Hall and Oates. Like
Me
just
too.
listening, this would have been one I would have recorded. This I think it's Mickey Curry on this one. There's a really cool drum stuff, and this is like a little mini drum solo in the middle of it. It's kind of weird. Speaking of Some Things Better Left Unsaid, I would still enjoy their music a lot more if it weren't for all the bad blood. I don't need to hear all that dirty laundry between the two of them. It's just really
It's
disheartening.
sad. Yeah, it's sad. Such a great duo and so many great songs, and to have it all unravel. Ugh.
It's a shame they can't, at this point in their lives, they can't bury the hatchet.
Right?
You know,
Exactly.
they're certainly not the only ones, but oh yeah, number 95. I know the group. I
So do
don't know the
I.
song. And this is an interesting case because this is a group that had a lot of R&B hits. They had two really big hits on the pop chart, but every other charting single did not reach the top 40. So it's not like they had a song that peaked at 35
Right.
or 29. So you know them for Secret Lovers and for Always. But
Always.
Atlantic Star, this week they're spending their third and I'm going to guess final week in the chart with a song called Freakaristic. Peaked at 90, and that's where it falls down from this week to 95. No idea.
No idea. Number 94, song that was on the charts for 10 weeks at this point. Not familiar with this gentleman other than his huge smash hit with Phil Collins, which was Easy Lover. This song is Walking on the Chinese Wall by Philip Bailey.
This this is one of those songs where it's like, oh yeah, I do remember hearing this on the radio. It peaked at 46, so it would have gotten a fair amount of airplay. So Philip Bailey came from Earth, Wind, and Fire, but most of our generation knows him because of one of the best songs of the 80s, Easy Lover with
Oh,
Phil
yeah.
Collins. And this is from the same album. The album was called Chinese Wall. Um, Next up is one of the singles that I said I just got just in time to do this to film this episode. Uh, you know, Band I've loved for years. I've never. This is the first time I had any singles from this album. Oh, something in my eye, and it's not my finger. I don't just mean that. Um,
It's
but
great that you found a copy of this.
yeah, well, I had to go to Japan
Oh,
online
yeah,
to
as
do
we
it.
do.
But it's Bon Jovi,
Oh, that's
Only Lonely from 1700 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is the Japanese single. This week it's down from 69. It peaked at 54, so it didn't do really all that bad. It didn't hit the top 40 like Runaway did, but I want to show you this. This is pretty cool. I'm sure there's people out here that have Japanese singles, but I hadn't. This is
Oh,
not
okay.
a sleeve. It's just
Exactly.
a single sheet of paper with the lyrics in English and in Japanese, and then the record itself comes in this nice um, label sleeve and very familiar, red Mercury logo. They use that all over the world. And the B side of this was another great song, "Always Run to You." I love 1700 Fahrenheit anyway. Um, so yeah, 93 this week.
Great song
Restart of
from
Bon
them.
Jovi.
Great song. Great song. At number 92, another artist band I am not familiar with, a group called Lone Justice, and their song Ways to Be Wicked. Looks like it didn't get very high. It was kind of on its way down on its fifth week on the chart at this point.
I remember this band and this song that they were led by a woman named Maria McKee, and they were, I think, I want to say there were ties to Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, but I might be getting that mixed
Mm,
up. They were touted as like the next big thing, but they were, I think, they might have been ahead of their time because they were sort of country rock, uh,
yeah, which
uh,
wasn't around much.
rockabilly punk kind of. But this is a really catchy song, and I want to say it was co-written by Stan Lynch or Mike Campbell, one of the Heartbreakers. There's a connection there, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
But yeah, this would be their best known song, I think. I remember seeing the video to this on Much Music. So yeah, I do vaguely familiar with Lone Justice. They only did a couple albums, then she went solo.
Right.
Um, at number 91, I actually remember hearing this song
Me
when,
too.
my mom would have the radio on her station. It's Dolly Parton, a duet with Kenny Rogers, Real Love. Now, it didn't hit the top 40 on the pop charts, but it this week it debuts at 91.
And Kenny and Dolly, well, we know they had some massive success
Oh
with
yeah.
Islands in the Stream. This was
Yeah.
another one that would have played, like you said, in my house on the
Yeah.
parents' radio station.
Yeah. And you know, how can you not like the Christmas album they did?
Of course,
That's
of
a
course.
classic.
Everybody's got that.
Yeah.
At number 90, another debut on the chart this week from a member of the Jackson family, Jermaine Jackson, and his song Closest Thing to Perfect. This was around the time when obviously Michael Jackson was the biggest artist in the world. A lot of the Jackson family had some success around this time. Jermaine had some, decent level hits, and the Jacksons were at this point, had they done the Victory Tour and reformed? It was, yeah.
Yeah. That
So,
was 84. Yeah.
there was some, shall we say, I don't want to make this sound spillover success from Michael to the
Yeah, kind of. I
less well
mean,
known
yeah, even
members.
Rebbe had Centipede, right?
Right, exactly.
Um, this song was from the movie Perfect, which is the one that starred John Travolta and Jamie
Well,
Lee
that
Curtis.
classic film,
Yeah,
yes.
it's been spoofed many, many times. Number 89. Now this is interesting. Obviously, up here in Canada, this guy's an institution,
Well,
and
this
this
is an
song is a
anthem.
staple. Unfortunately, he never broke through to the U.S. market, and this is the song that did, that came the closest, which is not surprising because if you were to say name one song by Kid Mitchell, they'd probably say "Go for a Soda," and it actually peaked at it only got to 86. This week it's down to 89, so got a little bit of airplay, a little bit of video play, and Chris has the Canadian single.
Yep. On Alert Records
Yeah,
with that famous whoop right there
Big
MAPL
Hand Con.
logo,
Yeah,
music, artist, producer, lyrics,
yeah.
100% CanCon. Back, the B side was a song called Caroline.
Akimbo Logo is a great album. In
Absolutely.
the US, Kim at this point was on a label called Bronze Records, which was a UK label that was distributed in the States by Atlantic. So he had that, and then his next two albums were on Atlantic in the US, but he just never broke through. I don't know why. I
I,
mean,
I think it's one of those things. It's like there's a few bands, Canadian bands, that you're
oh
like,
yeah,
why did that they not have it? And it's almost like they were, I don't want to, too Canadian. You know what I mean? Like the US just didn't get.
I put Gowan in that
Yep,
category,
another one.
and
Yep,
it's really hard. I mean, episodes have been done, like you talk about how hard it was for Canadian artists
exactly,
to break.
exactly.
Um, Number 88. No, wait, sorry. That's you. This one's
Number
yours.
88, a song by a extremely talented gentleman, producer, musician extraordinaire, the great Nile Rodgers. This was his second week on the chart with this song, Let's Go Out Tonight. Niall's known for producing everyone from Duran Duran, right? He's worked with Madonna, and he's had a lot of success, obviously, with his own
Yeah, I
solo
mean,
career and band.
he's guitar player in Chic. He even produced David Lee Roth.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
which was
I don't
shocking.
know this song and second week of the chart and it's already falling. That's not a
No,
good sign.
not a good start.
Number 87. I do know this song. I remember seeing the video in Much Music. As a matter of fact, they used the opening music from this song for the old Spotlights.
Yes, remember the
How I
spotlight.
remember this. And
30 hour,
it,
30
it would
minute
be a few
spotlight.
more years before they had a really big hit single in 1990 with King of Wishful Thinking, but this is the British duo Go West and the song Call Me. This week it is in its second week in the chart. It's up from 94 to 87. I think it peaked somewhere in the 50s. It wasn't a big hit in the US.
Good band, good band. Couple debuts, more debuts on the way, but at number 86, new on the charts this week. This is a song from Lisa Lisa and Cult Jam with Full Force called I Wonder If I Take You Home. Not familiar with it. she had some really big hits a couple years later with Head to Toe, Lost in Emotion. So this was, kind of, I think, her just starting out, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Now I vaguely remember this song. I think it dented the top 40, and if I'm not mistaken, somebody can correct me on this. I think the chorus of this was sampled for one of the Black Eyed Peas songs, but I could be wrong.
Possible.
But the next song is a well-known artist, well-known group. I don't know this song. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Make It Better, Forget About Me, debuting in '85. This is from his album Southern Accents, which had a huge hit single and
Oh
Don't
yeah,
Come Around Here No More. But I don't know any other songs from that album except that one.
it's a underrated album in his catalog for sure.
Yeah.
A little bit different, but it's we'll get to the. I think Don't Come Around Here No More is on this countdown later. So
Yeah.
great, great, great band. This is a great song from another Canadian band. Paul Hyde and the Paolas. You're the Only Love. I actually have the
Ah, yes, in an A&M sleeve. Yeah.
45 here in the A&M sleeve. And look at what I used to do, Tim.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I never did that with any of my albums, but when I was younger, if I had books or something, I'd always put my name and phone number.
Right? That's what we did because I think, I was worried about friends borrowing it and not returning it, etc. But this song is this is one of my favorites from this band. This is a band that doesn't get enough love. They had some really big success in Canada. Eyes of a Stranger was kind of their big breakthrough single in the early 80s. And they continued along. Over the years, they morphed from Paolas to Paul Hyde and the Paolas, eventually became Rock and Hyde.
Yeah.
But this is a great, great song from a very good album. Here's the World for You, I believe was
Yeah.
the name of
Uh, So yeah, of course, for people that don't know, the Rock and Rock and Hyde is Bob
it.
Rock, who went on
Exactly.
to become one of the biggest producers of all time. But he started out as a guitar player, and the Paolas were, yeah, they were an institution in Canada. They had that Never Said I Loved You. They had Soldier. Um, what was the other one? Well, they had a few. Much Music played a lot of them. They Eyes of a Stranger would, of course, be
Yeah,
the signature song. But this song, I believe this was produced by David Foster, if I'm not mistaken. I think
you are correct,
yeah, this
sir.
was quite a bit more, I'm going to say, commercial because
Yes.
they kind of had a little punky new wave
Oh,
kind
the
of,
early stuff is
their
really.
earlier stuff. So I think a lot of longtime fans were like, I don't like that. But I remember seeing this video all the time
Oh,
and
they
hearing the
played it
song quite a bit.
constantly.
I guess I didn't realize it charted in the US, not very high, but for if you're a Metallica fan, if you're familiar with the home video A Year and a Half in the Life of Metallica, during the first part when they're working on the Black album, they're teasing Bob Rock about how he looked on a Paola's
That's
album, and
right.
the album that they held up was Here's the World for You. And my favorite part is where Lars Ulrich says, "Good thing there's no record player here, or else it get really ugly."
Oh, love it.
So there you go. Uh, Number 83.
Oh yeah,
Only its second week in the chart. It's an 80s, one of the biggest songs of the 80s.
love it.
You can picture, the late
The
singer Steve
video.
Burns. He had very distinctive look. Dead or Alive, You Spin Me Round,
Oh,
record. You all know it. Now, what surprised me, looking back, this song only peaked at 11. I would have been thought for sure this would have been at least a top five single, but it didn't even reach the top 10. It's just a very
this
strange.
was definitely higher in Canada. I think it was for
Yeah,
sure the top 10 in Canada.
yeah. So,
The summer of
after,
'85 was this song was all over.
oh, yeah, like you could not escape it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great song, and I love the video. Another new song this week, number 82, debuting from the great Rick Springfield, huge Rick Springfield fan. His song "State of the Heart." Rick was pretty massive at this point in the mid '80s, coming off big success with his first, well, not his first albums, but his first real commercial breakthroughs, and he definitely kind of changed his sound a little bit heading into the mid to late '80s, but still really just a solid
Yeah, this
songwriter,
was very
musician.
like keyboard sequencer
Exactly.
kind of song. I mean, this was his album called Tao, which also had the song Celebrate Youth on it.
Very
Neither of those songs
synthy.
were huge hits. I think they were like, in the 20s somewhere, maybe. Uh, so his star had faded a little bit, but I mean, yeah, he had quite a run in the early to mid 80s for sure. And he's still out there. He's still out there touring
He's great.
yeah.
Great, great, great artist.
And a guy that Rick Springfield wrote a song about for being confused with him, Bruce
Yeah.
Springsteen. And I'm on fire. This song peaked at number 6. This is another song that I wouldn't have expected to see in the chart this far into the year, like in June of 85. But it's down from 72 and in its 17th week in the chart, one of, I believe, 6 or 7 hits from Born in the USA. And I think there's another one coming up.
Yep. All top 10 hits, too. All six of those.
Yeah.
Great, great, great song. Great video that used to play constantly on Much Music. At number 80, I love this song.
Yeah.
This is such a great song from an iconic R&B band, the Commodores, and Night Shift, which was their tribute to kind of the unfortunate early deaths of a couple very big R&B artists, Marvin Gaye being one of them. This is a great, great song and a great video too. Simple, the band just
Yeah.
out there singing at their mics. Uh,
Yep. Yeah.
Classic,
Yeah, the song peaked at number 3. It was their only hit post Lionel Richie, but I still hear it all the time on the radio. It's a great song.
great song.
At 79, another song that I think should have charted higher. It's one of my favorites by this band, Foreigner. That was yesterday. I mean, Lou Gramm, just this song, just the melodies in this song are just amazing. And yeah, I love this. I love this song. This is such a gem. Peaked at number 12, did all right.
Yeah,
This
that's
week it
pretty
drops
good. Yeah.
from 49 to 79. So
Oof.
quite a big drop on this one. 13 weeks in the chart.
Great album, great song. Number 78 this week, third week on the chart from I wasn't a big fan of this guy in the mid 80s, but he was a soap star. Jack Wagner had a big hit from this album, but "The Lady of My Heart" was his song at number 78.
Fortunately, I know this song. It's a
I
pretty
fortunately do
sappy
not.
ballad. Yeah, I don't know how I know it because it didn't chart very high. But well, this, the thing is, if you back then, if you listened to one particular station that played it, if there were a handful of stations that played it, that's how it charted at all. Must have liked this
Exactly.
one. They must have
Yeah.
liked what was his name? Frisco Jones was his character name. Anyway, yeah. We already talked about this song, Rick Springfield and Celebrate Youth. This big tumble this week from 43 down to 77. Yeah, the song peaked at 26, but I remember hearing it a lot. So I'm really
Yep.
surprised that it only got to 26.
Yeah, it was definitely out there, and like you said, a little bit of a shift with synth and keyboards and stuff. Didn't have as much success, but a good song nonetheless. Number 76, another R&B group, Shannon, and their song "Do You Want to Get Away?" and its 10th week on the chart, and it was falling as well. Not real familiar with this band, but they had some big chart success as well with other songs.
I think it was just one person, but I don't know
Oh,
what
was it
her.
just one, Shannon?
Yeah, her big hit was "Let the Music Play."
Yes, that's it exactly.
But this one like I've never heard it, but it peaked at
Never heard of it.
49. It didn't do badly, but maybe it was on the momentum of that other song because it would have been a year previous.
And there were definitely songs similar to the Canada US thing, US Canada, where there were artists on the US charts that didn't make a blip
Yeah,
on the Canadian
or
charts,
they did way better.
or they did way better.
It's an interesting. It's a weird kind of thing. Number 75. I do remember hearing this song. Shaka Khan, and this is from her album "I Feel for You." So that had the big title song. This is nothing like it. This is like an R&B ballad. Now it peaked at 60, and this week it only drops one from 74 to 75. The song's called "Through the Fire."
Number 74, up slightly on its third week in the chart from Freddie Jackson. This song's called "Rock Me Tonight," not to be confused with
Yeah,
another song by another artist
yeah.
that we would talk about at length and debate. But I'm not familiar with this one either. I don't recall recall hearing
Freddie
it.
Jackson, I do know this song, and he also had another song called "You Are My Lady" that were hits. It was R&B. He was not a member of the Jackson family,
No,
but he had a couple of songs around this time that were, probably bigger on the R&B chart. But this, yeah, I do know this song. "Rock Me Tonight for Old Time's Sake" is how the chorus went. uh, I can't picture him. I don't remember the videos. I just remember hearing the songs. So, number 73. This is a big drop, but it was a big song. It peaked at number 9. Don Henley from his album Building the Perfect Beast, and All She Wants to Do Is Dance. Big drop this week, 45 to 73.
great song from a great album. Number 72 on its second week in the chart. This band had success, which we'll talk about as we get higher up on the chart this week. Emotion, and I would guess the follow-up single to their big hit, but this is a song called Let Him Go, which I don't again recall hearing this one. Um, but they had a couple big hits
Yeah,
in the 80s, one of which I really like that we'll talk about in a bit.
yeah. Strange story about that because eventually there was another hit, like 89,
Yeah.
under the name Animotion. It's not really even the same group, and I can never get the story right exactly how that happened, but it was something that happened. uh, Number 71. Now it's a good song, and it's also falling as is their previous song, but this is only in its second week in the chart. And I think one thing that hurt this song is I don't believe there's a video for it.
I've never seen.
Uh, and it's kind of too bad that this didn't do better on the chart because I think it would have kind of kept the rock image that this band was sort of getting away from. Like a lot of stuff on Agent Provocateur is very keyboardy, very synth oriented. This is just a straight up classic sounding Foreigner rock or reaction to action. Only peaked at, well, okay, sorry, this is the second week on the chart, but I don't think it gets, I know it doesn't get to the top 40. I
No,
don't even know if it gets into the top 50.
it's like you said, it's a rocker from a band that was going a different direction. Mick Jones was taking them a little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
I mean, and this one, like, it's got an interesting, like, the intro catches your attention because it's like, da, 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 check, 1, 1, 1. So that would be a type of song radio DJs would like to play
Yep,
because it's fun. But anyway,
exactly.
didn't get a lot of play.
No, it did not. It did not. Number 70 this week from Boy Meets Girl. This one had some success. It was on its way down at this point after 10 weeks, but this is their song, Oh Girl. I don't recall this one at all.
No, me neither. And it peaked at 39.
Yeah, it was a
So I
hit.
don't know it. I mean, they're best known for waiting for a star to fall. They also had success writing songs. I believe I know they wrote "How Will I Know" for Whitney Houston and maybe one of her other big hits like "So Emotional" or something like. I could be wrong with that one. I know they wrote "How Will I Know," and they were a husband and wife. They aren't anymore. That's a sad thing. It's always fun when you find out that the couple is still together. But
Yeah,
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 I don't know this song. So what that tells me is that the station that I listen to regularly didn't play it
100%.
because there was a top
Exactly.
40 hit and I don't know it. That's got to be the reason because I was certainly listening. On the other hand, here's an example of a song I do know and I do remember hearing and I do remember seeing the video, but I don't think it charted all that high. They had bigger hits than this. It's the Hooters and All You Zombies. This week it's up one from 70 to 69. This is the
Yeah,
first
they
song I think I ever heard from them.
Yeah, they that me too. Their big one, and we danced, of course, was a big hit. But I do remember that one as well. Oh boy, what can we say about number
Oh,
68?
big debut. So far, it's the biggest debut this week.
Yeah, so far it's this was for it to debut at number 68 on the Hot 100 from a Canadian artist. You knew he was going places. The iconic and legendary Corey Hart, of course, and his signature song, I would say. You can debate that with Sunglasses at Night, but this was a bigger hit. Never Surrender,
Yeah.
which was the summer of 85
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah.
Much music played the video, which was a great video at the time,
Yep.
nonstop, nonstop.
Uh, yeah, it's interesting. You bring up a good point. Sunglasses at Night is so iconic and it's so, what's the word I'm looking? It's not a gimmicky song, okay? But it's very specific. When you hear
Mhm.
that title, it's very evocative. But I think it peaked at number 5. Never Surrender, I think, peaked at 3 on Billboard. Like it was the bigger charting single. And I think,
Number one
well,
in
I mean, they
Canada.
used it in Stranger Things.
Yep.
So it still has resonance today.
And you
Uh,
still hear it on the 80s on 8 on Sirius XM and all the
yeah,
80 stations for sure.
yeah.
Great song.
Next is a song that was a top 40 single. I certainly know the group. I do not know this song. It's a new edition. Young Bobby Brown, and
Bobby
who would
Brown.
eventually form Belle Biv DeVoe. Lost in Love. Don't know this. This week it's down from 47 to 67, but it peaked at 35, and I don't know this song.
Neither do I. Moving on. At number 66 this week, second week in the chart. This is an interesting song. I do I mean, I remember it obviously, but the video as well, is
Yeah,
very memorable. It's by Paul Hardcastle, and it's called 19. And a different type of song
very
that
much.
when it came out, I was like, what is this?
You know, at my age, I would have been like just shy of 11 that summer. I think of the summer when I think of this song.
Yep.
I It might have been the first time I ever heard about the Vietnam War.
Oh, absolutely. For me too.
Yeah. So
Interesting
now,
song.
now the next song. I know
Oh,
it.
I
I
don't know
know
it.
it, but I also know this is not the version that I know because this was a novelty song, and the version that I know was by a guy named Rockin' Sydney, and it used to get played all the time, and I would giggle at it every time. Don't mess with my toot toot.
Uh-oh.
And there's different versions of it. This one is by someone named Gene Knight. It peaked at 50. This week it's down to 65. But this isn't the version of the song I know, but it's got to be the same song.
I'll have to make a note to go check that out.
Oh, yeah, you really should.
I should.
Yeah.
Let's move past that stuff and get into some classic ballad from a fantastic hard rock metal band. Number 64 in its sixth week on the chart from Dokken, classic power ballad called Alone Again from their album Tooth and Nail. This is again a signature song for this band as well in terms of being, one that, oh, Dokken, yeah, Alone Again. They had that great ballad. Really, really great.
This was where this song would peak. And it was their highest charting song on the Hot 100, which is unfortunate. And this is also one that I've got a Japanese 45 to. This is the only Dokken 45 I have. It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
And it's again, it's the single sheet of paper. But here's the single, which the black and red Electra label. And the B side of this is actually the title song from Tooth and Nail. If DJs flipped the song over, they'd
Imagine
be in
that.
for, oh, that was nice. What's the other one sound like?
I wonder if they did that on purpose. Put that.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, granted, Alone Again is pretty heavy. It's a power ballad. Like it's pretty heavy for a
It
ballad.
is. Yeah.
But anyway, uh, next, I mean, I, I think I don't think I would be wrong in saying that there are more people, especially in North America, let's say, that know who this band is and know a little bit about them and what the whole deal was, the gimmick what with them. I don't know any of their songs, and I actually didn't know they had any charting songs. And I'm talking about Menudo.
You're
The song's
right.
called Hold Me, which is a pretty generic title. This week it's holding literally at 63, fifth week in the chart. That's probably where it peaked. And I know Ricky Martin was in this group, but I think that the wasn't that once a member hit 15 or 16, they'd switch them out for younger. Like it wasn't
Yep.
a it was a
Exactly.
project more than a group.
Exactly. And you're right. This band, I knew of them. I saw them. Like they were on the covers of some of those teen magazines in the
Yeah,
80s because they were all had a look.
they were very much a manufactured boy band.
Yes.
The
This,
difference is they didn't have the hits.
yep.
At least not that I know of in our necks of
Not
the woods.
exactly. Yeah. I couldn't name a song. So
No.
this one to me is like, okay. Number 62 from an artist we've already talked about who had a fantastic album that was a huge smash, Building the Perfect Beast. This is Don Henley, Not Enough Love in the World, in its third week on the chart. Just another classic song from this album.
This
This
one,
is
I
great.
when I think back to like to what his songs were, the way he was recording, in the 80s, this one is almost like this could have almost been an Eagles song. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't. It doesn't have it doesn't have like the sequencers and the drum machines and
Mhm.
like his previous singles had. This is more of a. It's got a little bit of a country tinge to it, but then
Yeah,
again, so
but
you know, a lot of Eagles songs. I could hear this one being on like a late period Eagles album, but it it's I remember hearing it a lot. I don't think it
yep.
charted that high. I don't think it was top 10, but I do remember
No.
the song quite well. Next song I think only peaked at like 29. It's the first song I ever heard from her. And I think this was her first album that was aimed at like a secular audience.
Right.
She was a huge star in the
Oh
country
yeah.
music community. But Amy Grant, and it's a Love Will Find a Way. Find a Way is the name of the song. This week it's 61 up from 64.
Number 60 from a band called Climax. They did have some pretty big success. What was the name of the song? I miss you. Was it I Miss You?
They had a big song called I Miss You.
I Miss You. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was their big one. This one is Meeting in the Ladies' Room.
That's the
It's
title of that album, I believe.
there we go. There we go. Not familiar with this song, but they weren't really in my wheelhouse at the time.
No, I remember, of course, Casey Kasem or Rick Dees, you know, when I would listen faithfully to those guys
Yep.
and they were saying how there were three bands that had Climax in their name that had chart success. So there was a band that was spelled like the R&B group Climax spelled it Klymaxx. Like how 80s is that? Doubling up on your
Totally.
letters, right? Um, and then there was the Climax Blues Band. They had a couple of hits, and then there was a band just called Climax that were kind of a one-hit wonder. They had one song called Precious and Few, which is very 70s soft adult
Soft rock.
contemporary. Anyway,
Yacht rock.
that's neither here nor there. Next up is a song that is one of those. There's a handful of songs that peaked at number 40. Now I thought it was a bigger hit because I seem to remember hearing it more. It's a ballad, Kenny Loggins, and the song's called Forever. It's up from 67 to 59 this week.
Kenny, the king of the soundtracks.
Yeah, and this
And
was actually one that wasn't.
exactly. Yeah,
This was
exactly.
from
It
an
didn't do as
album he
well.
did called Vox Humana, which the title song from that was a earlier hit this year, and neither of those songs charted all that high. Yeah, for better or worse, he once he started having the hits with the soundtracks, that's where the hits came from. It
That's
seems.
exactly right. Exactly. At number 58, second highest debut on the chart this week. And if you ask me about like, well, songs that take you back to a time and place, for me, the summer of 85,
Oh yeah,
the Power Station. And this is the second single. And I've got both the
yeah.
12-inch and the 7-inch single. Their cover of T Rex's Get It On, Bang a Gong. Um, man, this was a huge song for me back when this came out.
I love it. I love it.
It's one of those ones that I know T Rex is iconic, the song's iconic, but it's one of those ones for me. I, the cover version is, I'm not going to say better, but I prefer it.
Oh, I love what they
100.
did with this. I didn't know this song
Exactly.
originally, and when I heard it, it's like, yeah, okay, but this was pretty heavy for the airwaves on. I mean, Tony Thompson on the drums, like his drums were just slamming, and
Huge.
you
Huge.
got to see a side of John Taylor and Andy Taylor from Duran Duran that you'd never seen before. I mean, this is
Heavy
pretty
guitars.
much a hard rock song,
Yep.
and even though he's an art, like he started as an R&B and he has a knack for that, boy, does Robert Palmer sound good singing stuff like this.
Oh, it's iconic. It's this whole album, speaking of just the sound of the songs and the drum sound on this is one of the I go back to it as like the drums on this album are some of the best recorded
Oh,
drums.
and you know, it's surprising to me that they own. I mean, I know they did another album many years later, but it's surprising to me that this didn't, you know, they didn't have more of a career as Power Station because they had two huge hits, two top 10 singles, this one and Some Like It Hot.
Yep,
And they never, you know, I think maybe it's because Robert Palmer, he didn't tour this album. They had Michael DeBar come in. Of
exactly.
course, you know, the John Taylor went back to Duran Duran, Andy didn't. But man, like talk about lightning in a bottle. And yeah, this you listen to that T Rex version, it's like, yeah, okay, it's a catchy little. but it doesn't have that brr, brr, brr,
Exactly.
brr, doo, doo, like it does the thunderous drums from Tony
Thunder.
Thompson
Great way to
Of
describe it.
Chic for crying out loud. Anyway,
And an amazing video like that makes no
yeah,
sense.
very distinctive videos too. Like they had a look to them that was the lighting and it was a red tinge to everything and didn't make any sense. It's like a wrecked building and yet
Yeah.
she's serving him
Uh,
the
it was the
I don't
80s.
know.
Somebody was on acid when they said that.
Yeah, yeah. But we never questioned it.
Nope.
It's like, well, okay, I guess that's happening now. Next song, I know the artist, I don't know the song, and it doesn't appear like it's a big hit. But Natalie Cole, and the song's called Dangerous. It's up 1 to 57. Now, I think would have been her following album in '87. She had quite a big comeback because that's when she had Pink Cadillac and she started to have more success or
Exactly.
different uh, a little bit more success on pop radio. But yeah, I don't know this song.
At number 56, second week on the chart, a band that I love from another album that takes me back to the summer of 85 because I played it nonstop. The first single from
Yep,
their self titled comeback, shall we say,
huge comeback.
classic song,
Yeah,
What About Love? Great video, song written by members of the Canadian band Toronto, Sharon
yeah, oh,
Alton, Brian Allen, and Jim Valance.
yeah,
This is this is one of my favorite Heart songs, and would rise into the top 10. B side is Heart of Darkness. And remember these singles with the old plastic poly capital sleeve? No picture sleeve on this one, but an absolute classic song. Absolute
yeah.
classic.
And I forgot, like I tend to collect picture sleeve singles, but I like those capital sleeves. I've seen, yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't seen one of those in a while. And obviously that was bought in Canada because it's got the CanCon symbol beside. So
right?
yeah, so because of the songwriters, this qualifies as CanCon, even though
Which is
like
really
the
interesting.
yeah, and the first two or three Heart albums classified as CanCon because they were still based in Vancouver, but this by now they didn't. But yeah, this was the first song I ever heard from them.
Mine as well.
I'd never heard of them before. I
Mine
remember
as
thinking
well.
it's strange. Are you allowed to just call a band Heart? Isn't that weird? I found that was what a strange name for, but I didn't think about it too long because I was hooked as soon as I heard the
Me
song. I was
too.
like, and I hadn't quite gotten into harder rock music, but it had just enough guitar, and it was it had there was a weight to it, and also you talk about drums, Denny Carmassi's drums on that are like it
It's
really
heavy. It's
recorded.
heavy, right? It's got a
Yeah,
crunch
yeah.
to it.
There's a thickness to it, and it's funny. Now I have three of the five singles from that album. I've got the 45s too. I don't have that one, and that one has a song on the B side that's never been on an album called Heart of Darkness. So I
Exactly.
need to get that. Next up, now I do remember this song, and I think it peaked at 47. This band was absolutely huge on their first two albums, like absolutely huge. So they had Business as Usual and Cargo, and each of those spawned. They didn't have a lot of hits, but what they had were all like mostly top 10 hits. Everybody knows who Men at Work is.
Absolutely.
But by the time their third album came out in '85, it was called Two Hearts. What I do know is I think they lost their rhythm section or there was infighting or something. But this song, Everything I Need, I remember hearing on the radio very briefly, and it
Yep.
didn't chart very high. It like I think I peaked at 47. It's probably almost there. This week it's up from 59 to 55.
At number 54, second week in the chart, big jump, just up 21 places. These guys, R&B pop band that had some big success. The band DeBarge, Who's Holding Donna Now, kind of a slower
Yep.
song from them that
Family band.
yeah, family band. El DeBarge went solo and had
Yeah.
some big hits, but I did this one I remember hearing
Yeah.
quite a lot.
Yeah. This was a big
Big
R&B
favorite.
crossover song. Next up is a song that actually the next two songs that Sarah and I featured on our well-known songs from the '80s that did not hit the top 40. That you just go,
Mm,
what? John Fogerty, Center Field.
didn't
Who
hit the
doesn't know
top
Center
40.
Field? It didn't hit the top 40 this week. It's up from 56 to 53.
Interesting. Well, and the next one too, I didn't realize at number 50, 52, it's sixth week in the chart. Looks like it didn't get much higher than that. From a Canadian artist,
Oh yeah, yeah. And
Nino
that's
Vanelli.
another example. Like we joke about this, they just took the picture from the album cover.
Oh, that was the easy thing to do. So Black Cars, a
Yeah,
big hit in Canada. Gino had some really big success back in the day, and on the back side B is Imagination. But another great song that I would have thought would have been a top 40 hit.
close. 42. It was
Me
hovering.
too.
And it's the first I'd ever heard of him, you know. And it was different. It wasn't like, I just want to stop. It wasn't like his 70s stuff at all. It was very
No,
much synthesizer based, but what a great song. I mean, it's almost like it's just a fun song. And yeah, it almost hit the top 40 in the States, and he could have mounted a comeback with that, but it just didn't get
not
the
quite.
airplay. But a song that peaked at 42 tells me that a lot of stations were playing it because that's
Absolutely.
pretty close. Um, Number 51, another first, is the first song I ever heard from this group. Um,
Me too.
Up 10 from 61 to 51, Depeche Mode, People Are People.
Yeah, that was a great one that again the video was played a lot.
And I remember this like it was around the same time as 19 by Paul Hardcastle. So there was kind of like an anti-war sentiment and, two big songs that were kind of like that.
Exactly. Number 50. We're into the top 50, folks. We talked about this band a little bit earlier. They had that massive hit Night Shift, so it's the Commodores again. Third week on the chart. Song I'm not familiar with called Animal Instinct.
I know a book called Animal Instinct,
I do know
but
that one.
no, I don't know this one. Peaked at 50, so it's would have gotten a fair amount of airplay, but no, I don't know. This would have been the follow-up single to Night Shift. Um, Next is a song I do know. This hit the top 40. I think it like got somewhere in the 30s. And what I remember about this song is it's one of the few that John Oates sang. This is
Or
from their
many.
Big Bam Boom album, which is a big album for them. But Possession Obsession, Hall and Oates. This week it's up from 66 to 49.
Number 48, fourth week on the chart from the legendary Robert Plant, and Tim has the picture sleeve of Little by Little.
Oh, I love this song.
It's a great
I
song.
remember hearing this is a summer 85 song, even though I think it only peaked at 37 or 36. I remember this song, it's very distinctive.
Very.
And the video is very distinctive. This was, other than the Honey Drippers stuff, this was the first solo song I ever heard from Robert Plant. I mean, at this point, I'd never heard anything from Led Zeppelin, but I
Me
still
too.
absolutely love this song. Anybody that's like a muso, I'm not familiar at all with Little Feat, but listen to Richie Hayward's drums on this. It's a great, it's more complicated than it sounds.
Mm.
Next up is a song that in the last episode that Sarah and I did, I actually sang a little bit of this, so I won't subject people to it again. The minor top 40 hit for Tina Turner, and I think it was the final single from her
Private.
Private Dancer album,
Yeah.
Show Some Respect. This week it drops from 37 to 47.
At number 46 on its way down, it was in its 20th week on the chart. And I loved this song when it came out. I couldn't find my 45, but it's Animotion's Obsession. I've got the 12-inch single with the dance remix. Um, this is pure 80s. Like, right? This is you'd almost call Animotion a one-hit wonder in that this was by far their biggest hit. They did have a little bit of success with a little bit of other stuff later, but this song and this video, um, oh my god, I ate this stuff up. It's just a classic 80s pop song.
Yeah. Peaked at number 6. And if you hear you know, the full version of it, there's actually a pretty ripping guitar solo at the end of it.
There is. Yep.
I didn't
There
know
really
that
is.
back in the day that they'd
Yeah.
always fade it out and start talking. But
And
um,
a memorable video as well.
yeah, yeah, I believe this song was co-written by Holly Knight. Am I right
Yep.
about that? Yeah.
Yep. You are. Yep. And Michael
At number
DeBar.
4, oh, what's that?
And Mike, it was co-written by Holly Knight and Michael
Michael
DeBar.
DeBar. We mentioned him earlier with the in Power Station. Um, so at number 45, this song peaked at 17. I remember hearing it a lot on the radio. I think it's the first time I'd ever heard of this artist. And I think it's from the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack, but I might be wrong about that.
It might be.
Patti
She had a
LaBelle
song in there.
and New Attitude. It's
Yeah,
drops from 30 to 45 this week.
that was a big hit that I
Yeah.
remember here. The highest debut of the week at number 44 goes to Sting, the debut solo single from this amazing artist. If you love somebody, set them free. Huge hit. When this album came out, Dream of the Blue Turtles, I remember being massively disappointed. I was a huge Police fan, and this direction Sting went solo was not for me. But hey, you got to give him respect. This was a huge album and a huge song for him that launched his solo career, and was another video that was played constantly on Much Music.
Yeah, the video is interesting because it's basically just one shot of him and the band playing in this corner of this room or something. And
Yeah,
um, but yeah, I mean, the anticipation coming off Synchronicity would have been huge. And
massive.
this is one of, compared to where he would end up going, this is one of the more Police sounding songs on this album because yeah, he would change his sound immensely and do basically dip his toes into just about every genre.
Exactly.
Um, Number 43. Now I remember this song. I remember hearing this on the radio. And he's a well-known artist in the UK, but over here he's got kind of got more of a cult following. I guess they call what he does pub rock. Graham
Yeah.
Parker, and he's had different bands. This is Graham Parker and the Shot, but the song's called "Wake Up Next to You." I remember hearing this on the radio. The chorus is I get the chorus in my head. It didn't chart very much higher than this, but this week it's from 46 to 43.
Number 42 on its way down the charts, but it's the debut single from Tom Petty's Southern Accents album. One of my favorite Tom Petty songs for sure. Don't Come Around Here No More. David Stewart from the Eurythmics was a co-writer on this, and one of the more interesting videos of the 80s, and
Yes.
definitely one that is memorable. And Dave Stewart has an appearance in it
Yeah,
as
he's the
well.
caterpillar.
Yeah, exactly. A really, I remember watching the video and seeing it for the first time, and at the end when they're like slicing
The
the cake, and
cake.
I was like, "This, what is happening here?" But it's a great.
Fun fact. Oh, which one? It was it Stan Lynch or was it Benmont Tench? One of the members of the Heartbreakers ended up married to the girl that was
Oh, there
Alice
you
in
go.
this video. Yep. Okay. Surprisingly, not a top 10 hit. Peaked at 13.
Pretty close, but yeah.
Yeah. Number 41. This may have been the first song I ever heard from this artist. He had a lot more R&B hits
Oh,
than
huge
at this
R&B.
point. It wasn't until really the turn of the 90s that you started hearing him on mainstream pop radio. Luther Vandross, the late Luther Vandross. This week, his song "Till My Baby Comes Home" drops to 41. It peaked at 29.
We're heading into top 40 now with a band that were the kings of soft rock and had massive chart success. I remember my cousins loved this band for some reason. Air Supply, and they're still around. They're still
Oh
around.
yeah,
They're playing out there, but this is their song "Just as I Am" on its way up in its third week at number 40.
I think this was probably their last top 40 single.
Yeah,
Next up, I love this song. You never hear this anymore.
you don't. You
I
really
love the song. I love the video. The video's hilarious,
don't. It is.
starring Ron Perlman as a caveman. Uh, and this is the only real song that had any success after Roger Hodgson left this group. But it's Supertramp, and the album was called Brother Where You Bound. The song Cannonball. It was a top 30 single, but this week it jumps from 52 to 39. I think it's super catchy. And the what I didn't realize about the song until I read about it in more recent years is that I always want to say Ray Davies. It's not. It's Rick Davies. He's the
Rick, yeah.
other singer and piano
He kind
player
of took
in
over,
Supertramp. He wanted to see if he could get away with writing a song that was just in one key the whole way through,
yeah.
and this one is. And
That's
I can
wild.
only think of one other example, and that's Electric Avenue by Eddie Grant, where
Oh,
the song's
yes.
just in one key all the
A
way through.
solid
Anyway,
key.
Cannonball, great song.
Number 38 from the legendary Mick Jagger, Lucky in Love. This would be from his, that's his debut solo release, which had a big hit on it, Just Another Night. Um, Mick they'd come off the Stones had come off 30
Undercover.
what was the one? Yeah, undercover of the
Yeah, yeah.
night. And there was some tension in the band right at that time between Keith and Mick, and Mick did his solo thing, She's the Boss, and away you go.
Yeah. And the bigger song off this album was Just Another Night.
Which is a great song. Great
Yeah.
song.
I think Jeff Beck's on that. He's in a lot of his. Jeff Beck popped up a lot in the mid 80s. Rod
He really
Stewart.
did.
Yeah.
Rod, yep.
Yeah. Number 37, another one of the big hits from Born in the
Oh,
USA. Bruce Springsteen, Glory Days. This week
so
it's
good.
up from 48 to 37. Iconic video where, he's a baseball player but it looked like such a fun bar to be at when they were playing.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this song is pure summer. I associate Glory
Oh
Days
yeah, yeah,
with summer.
yeah.
It's a great, great song. Number 36 from Kim Carnes, she of Betty Davis Eyes. Her song Crazy in the Night, Barking at Airplanes. I will say I've never heard this song. So,
This was a great song, and it's actually I think it peaked at 15. It's actually her second highest charting
is it
song
really?
after Betty Davis Eyes. I would have thought she had more. She had a lot of mid-chart songs, but I definitely remember this song,
Oh,
Um, and yeah, no, it's very synthy, but it's got some guitar in it. It's a fun song. It's not meant to be
okay.
taken
I'm on it.
seriously. Uh, at number 35, this is a great like classic sort of ballad where like Alison Moyet, Invisible, she just belts it out.
Oh,
You can hear anger in this song. And this was a much bigger hit. I think this was a bigger hit in Canada because I remember seeing the video to this and hearing the song a lot.
it was
In the
everywhere.
States, it only peaked at 31. This week, it's down to 35.
At number 34 from the Beach Boys, who had big success later in the 80s with Kokomo, but
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with this era of the band. This is Get You Back, which was in its third week and was still going up the charts at number 34 at this
You
point.
might remember this song if you heard it. This was a top 30 single. I remember, you know, I remember them playing it and saying, what would the summer be without a new song from the Beach Boys? Like that, it was sort of it was
Yeah,
sort of a
absolutely.
comeback song, even though it didn't chart all that high, but it did re-hit the top 40. But I think if you listen to it, you'd be like, oh yeah, right, I remember that. Um, Number 33, one of my favorite songs of all time by anyone. On its way to a number 8 peak. You may have heard me talk about this band before. Just Night
I
Ranger,
know a bit.
Sentimental Street. It doesn't get much better than this. From one of their best albums, Seven Wishes.
My personal favorite Night Ranger album, Seven
You
Wishes.
can't, you can't, it just, like I said, it doesn't get much better. But this song makes me think of the very beginning of summer because I think the first time I heard it was like
Yeah,
maybe it was like the Friday, like the last day of school, and I remember hearing this song. It just set, and I remember seeing the video where they're on they did
Crash the
that they
Plane.
did this one, and then they went into 4 in the morning where they were, it played on the whole, they're like World War II pilots that get lost somewhere. Anyway,
Exactly.
fantastic. Yeah. Uh,
Where are we at
yeah.
here? Number 30, 32. We already talked about this band from DeBarge.
Yeah.
This was their big, big, big hit. Rhythm of the Night, top 10 single, really catchy, fun 80s pop dance track. And
Yeah.
this is the only single I own on the Gordy.
Yeah, I don't. Sometimes it's interesting. Like yeah, Motown would release singles on either Motown, Gordy, or sometimes Tamla, and yet
Mhm.
they'd all have the same numbering system. I'm not sure what the distinction was. Um, Now that's another song. I guess I would have thought that would have been off the charts, but still in the top 40. But
It was in, yeah, that was week 17.
yeah, staying power for sure. Number 31. This was his most successful single,
Oh, by far.
probably around the world, but definitely in North America. Paul Young. every time you go away, ended up being a number one song. This week, in its fifth week in the chart, it's up from 39 to 31. And you know, it wasn't a single for them, but this is a Hall and Oates cover.
Yeah, it's a classic 80s
Yeah,
song for sure. Number 30, a band that didn't really make it big. They had some success. They had some soundtrack success. John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. Um,
very, very Bruce Springsteen sounding.
Very much so. This is Tough All Over, and it was still rising at this point in its fifth week, but they don't you don't hear a lot about them, but they were certainly in that, as you said, Bruce Springsteen sounding.
I got to real briefly. I was covering a morning show once, and at the time we were giving away Bruce Springsteen tickets. And the call the if you hear a Bruce Springsteen song, be the caller number five.
Right.
I played On the Dark Side, and the phone started ringing, and I'm like, oh my, aren't we over this by now? Didn't we get over this in 1984? That is not Bruce Springsteen. I remember this song. This was a catchy song. Things are tough all over. Um, and then they followed this up with another one called CITY. So they had a couple of minor
I
hits
remember that one.
that weren't on the Eddie and the Cruisers soundtrack.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Number 29. I mean,
Oh,
the what can you say? USA for Africa, We Are the World. It was a phenomenon. It was the age of the benefit singles. Peaked at number one, practically debuted at number one. I don't know if it did, but it almost. This week it's down from 24 to 29 in its 12th week.
and interesting if you're looking at the actual chart from this issue of Billboard, and they would indicate with a little triangle the certifications, the RIA. This at this point was certified 4 times platinum in the
Yeah,
US, which is looking at this. All right, so that's 4 million units already,
yeah.
which was huge. I won't say anything else about it other than watch the documentary.
I was just going to say the documentary is fascinating
It's so good,
and
so good.
so many things I never thought about getting everybody all in one place and what happened.
Prince, not
Yeah.
well. We won't spoil it for people, but
And that yeah, and the whole thing about, Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder saying they're going to drive everybody home. I like that part. That was fun.
it's a great doc. You gotta
Yeah.
watch it.
Number 28. No, this one's you. Sorry.
Yep, number 28. One thing I loved about the 80s and this time was songs from movies and soundtracks, and so
Yeah.
many great songs from soundtracks. This is Cyndi Lauper's kind of the title track, shall we say,
It
from
looks
the
like it's right from the
Goonies.
video.
Yeah, right from the video. The Goonies are good enough. And there's the backside. This song was a big hit, and I gotta say, one of the most fun videos. She brought in her wrestling buddies.
Yeah.
Roddy Piper's in there, and
They shot two
the
videos
Iron
for this, right?
Sheik.
Remember there was a sequel?
Yep, there was a sequel,
I don't
exactly.
think they'd
But
ever done. I've never seen anything like that before.
it's fascinating how much obviously investment and money was put into some of these videos from movies to help push the film.
You've got a movie studio's budget, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And this was a big hit for Cindy.
I,
4 weeks,
I
but it was rising.
I think that this was a transitional period where record companies they never used to issue their artists much money at all to do their videos, but once you started having these big soundtrack songs, then music videos that weren't even I think by the time the 90s rolled around, music videos that weren't even associated with a movie had movie budgets.
Oh, 100%.
Like a movie budget, same budget for a movie as like a 4-minute video. But
Exactly.
number 27, we talked about this song already, peaked at number 6. Fantastic song, The Power Station, and Some Like It Hot. This week it's at 27, down from 16.
Picture. I love the album cover and the picture sleeve artwork they did with these, but there's the guys,
Yeah, it's
right?
variants of the cover, but it's not just a cover and copy of the cover.
Exactly. And this song, the intro, the drum intro to this,
Oh yeah.
just unbelievable. One interesting note, right up there, look at Bernard Edwards, kind of listed as a band member, shall we say? which is
Well,
interesting.
he was Bernard Edwards was also in Chic with Tony
Hmm.
Todd. I think he was the bassist.
I think so, yeah.
Maybe he
But that
produced. I think he might have produced that album.
you might be right, actually. You're right. He did. Yep.
Yeah.
Great song.
And that album is available on 8-track, by the way.
Is
If
it?
yeah.
Okay, that's a mission. I got to find that.
And if you get it, you'll have 100% of the Power Station's catalog on
I
8-track.
will.
Yeah. Uh, Number 26. This was the first,
It
I
was.
think, her first solo single.
Hmm.
She had duetted with Teddy Pendergrass on a single, but this was the first single from her first album, and it was a I think it was a top 10 single, but it was like
Yep.
what's the word I'm looking? It wasn't a blockbuster. It was just kind of a polite, but very, very soon she'd become one of the biggest stars in the world for, the next umpteen years. Whitney Houston, You Give Good Love. This week it's up from 34 to 26.
At number 25, on the ninth week on the chart and still kind of rising because it did peak higher. This is a one hit wonder for sure. Till Tuesday, their classic song "Voices Carry." This is one of those iconic '80s songs that you hear
Yeah.
over any
Amy Mann went
man.
on to become a
Excellent.
solo artist, and they had a couple other songs that were minor hits, but yeah, this is the one. Um, this is the one that established. This is why people know Till Tuesday is. Yeah,
Exactly, and the video too when she at the takes her
it's pretty.
reveals her hair.
I like the message of this song. I really
Yeah,
do. Like
it's a great
and
song.
at the time, it was kind of you didn't see a lot of that, right? It
Oh, it
was
was very progressive, shall we say?
yeah, yeah. Number 24. Now this song only peaked at 19, which I believe that's where it was the previous week. I always really liked this one.
Oh
REO
yeah.
Speedwagon, One Lonely Night. And this song was written by their keyboard player, Neil Dowdy, who was the founding member of REO Speedwagon. And you talk about, same with Hall and Oates. What a sad situation this band deteriorated into, and
Uh,
I don't
I
understand
don't
any
get it
of it.
either.
But anyway, this week, One Lonely Night, 24.
Number 19 from Mr. David Lee Roth, Diamond Dave, second single from his EP. This is Just a Gigolo. I Ain't Got No
Oh,
Buddy.
you skipped.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
you
skipped.
no problem, no problem. But yeah. I mentioned 19. That's where the REO song peaked.
That's right.
So
That's what
you're
I'm
at
thinking.
23. No,
So
I'm at 23. I stole
yeah,
yours.
I
Boy,
I jumped way ahead.
yeah,
I
guys,
did a
we're going off the rails real
we're
quick
off the
here.
rails here, off the rails.
Okay. Number 23. It's one of the only examples I can think of, at least in the 80s, unless there's something obvious that's not coming to mind, that was a hit from a musical. And this song was co-written by Benny and Bjorn from ABBA, along with Tim Rice. One Night in Bangkok. You've got it in your head now, don't you? Murray Head. This song peaked at number 3 this week. It's down from 15 to 23. I still hear this song on the radio, and it's still a really fun song. And if you want to give yourself a tongue twister, try and sing along with it, or more like rap
Exactly.
along with it. Really.
Yeah, this song for me was huge. I think I drove my parents nuts because I played this 45 nonstop. But it's one of those memorable 80s songs. It's just pure 80s. I mean,
Yeah.
it's classic. At number 22, great song from Madonna, who was exploding at this time, coming off her breakthrough album like a Virgin. This is the ballad Crazy for You, 15th week on the chart, on its way down from the Vision Quest soundtrack, which is a classic soundtrack. And this was another one that I remember the video playing constantly. Madonna singing in the bar, scenes
Yeah.
from the movie in there.
And this gave her like, in the middle of having all those hits from Like a Virgin, this was like, oh, here's another one
Here's
too.
another one. Exactly.
That soundtrack is also available on 8-track.
Oh, geez.
Actually, in 1985, a lot of these were.
I got some work to do.
Yeah. And that was a good soundtrack. It had Journey on it, had Dio on it,
Yeah, Sammy
Amy
Hagar.
Hagar, Red Rider, like yeah,
Great
John
soundtrack.
Waite. Number 21, I kind of forgot about this song, but it didn't get as much, it wasn't as big a hit as his previous two singles, but Julian Lennon from his Valot album and Say You're Wrong is holding at 21 this week.
We're into the top 20 now with a song from one of my favorite bands of the 80s, the Eurythmics, first single from the Be Yourself Tonight album.
Yes, yes.
And this took them this was a bit of a departure because
Very different, right? That yeah, very different and
very
fun.
different. Would I Lie to You?
Yeah.
Much more rock.
This had more of a 60s rock.
Yeah, exactly. And the video was really memorable too,
Yeah.
with Annie getting in a fight with her,
Um,
all the rest of it. But a great song from them.
yeah. No, yeah, like it had horns in it. Yeah, it was very different for them. Very it's live drums, not synth based. And what's fun about this is that I think that this song okay, I could be wrong about this. Let me back up. I read once Paul Stanley was talking about writing Tears Are Falling, one of my favorite Kiss
Oh
songs from
yeah.
the 80s. And he said he was inspired by the beginning of a Eurythmics song. And I can't help but wonder if it was this one, because it starts out dung, 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 like just the one note
Yeah, yeah,
pulsating like
yeah.
that.
Could
I
be.
don't know. The song sounds nothing like it, but food for thought.
Exactly.
Uh,
Now
number
19.
number 19, here we are. Whoa! The second single from his EP, his debut solo EP, Crazy from the Heat. David Lee Roth,
Oh, you got the
the Angel
45.
Wings. Yeah, just an angel, right? Just a gigolo slash I ain't got nobody. Man, only Dave at this point was so big he could have taken two old, um, were the 30s songs or like the really old songs and butted them together and had a hit single with it. Only peaked at 12. I mean, the video was basically roasted everybody that was popular in music at the time. Um, yeah, great. This week it's down from 12 to 19.
Diamond Dave. Number 18, another iconic 80s song, one hit wonder, if you will, as well. From Lamal from Kajagoogoo. This was his big solo hit from a classic 80s film, The Never Ending Story. Co-written by Giorgio Moroder and Keith Forsey, two big 80s producers. This is very 80s, this song, The Never Ending Story. And this one, was this not in Stranger Things too?
Oh yeah, this actually plays
Yeah,
a pretty big plot point in it.
right, right.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. I always associate this song with the movie and the scene that is traumatizing to every kid from the 80s with the
Yeah.
horror, right?
Um, Lamal is interesting because he was kind of a two-hit wonder because he was a singer in Kajagoogoo too.
Yeah, yeah,
But
exactly.
and I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Hamill, so Lamal is just an anagram of his name.
Right.
But yeah, and I've also read, and I never thought about it before, but the way that this song fades in is the same way it fades out, so it kind of plays with the whole never-ending thing. Do you know I've never actually seen this movie?
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. But then again, the
Right.
list of classic movies I haven't seen would astound people. So
Okay,
anyway.
fair enough.
Uh Number 17. I mean, at this point, this was highly anticipated.
Mm.
Around the World in a Day was the follow-up album to Purple Rain. And confounding expectations, it was not a carbon copy
Oh,
because Prince did what Prince wanted to. Raspberry Beret. This is a summer song for me too. Uh, I mean, what can you say? You can hear the strings in your head now playing that melody, right? Um, and I remember too the weird things like the video version is longer than the radio version because
yes.
the first of it is longer and he comes up and he coughs and it's so colorful and anyway, this week it's up from 25 to 17. I don't think this was a number one song, but I think it was top five.
Yeah, definitely was top five. Number 16, Tim and I have talked at length about this band, one of our favorites.
Yeah,
I've got the 45s. One of them is promo single only.
yeah.
But
Oh, does that mean it's a white label?
it is it a white label? Let's check it out. The Search is
Just
Over is the song we're talking about, obviously. Well,
yeah.
oh, it is a white label. You are correct.
Usually, yeah, promo singles usually were. Yeah.
And obviously a song on both sides. So Search is Over, on its way up to a top 10 finish.
I think this
One of
peaked at
my,
four.
I think it was four. Yeah, this is one
Yeah.
of my favorite ballads of all time.
Jimmy
Search is
Jameson.
Over. Jimmy Jameson, legend. Great video.
Yeah.
It was a big hit in Canada too.
Yeah.
Um, Vital Signs is a classic album, and this is a
Yeah.
great song from that one.
you want to find out more of Chris and I waxing poetic on Survivor, just look Tim's Vinyl Confessions, comma Survivor, and you'll see the videos we've done. Uh, at number 15, this was like one of my favorite bands at the time, and I was so
Me
excited
too.
when the song came out. Even though I never saw I did see the movie later, but I knew practically nothing about James Bond movies didn't mean anything to me at the time. But the fact that Duran Duran were doing the title song from a James Bond film, everybody was saying what a big deal what that was. And of course, A View to a Kill ended up a number one song this week. It jumps from 27 all the way up to 15. So yeah, um,
Great
Duran
picture
Duran
song.
were on there. They were just everywhere right now.
And the interesting thing too is this is when they fell apart, right? They split off. This was kind of their last
Well, yeah, because after
big,
that was a soundtrack song. They did Live Aid famously.
yeah,
But they
famously.
split, Power Station, Arcadia, and yeah. And then Andy had a solo song, John had a solo song.
And one of those fun videos from the 80s too, right?
Yes, very much.
You
It
know,
was a good way. They
random.
did a great job mixing the footage with I think.
They really did. They really did. At number 14, song from former member of the Eagles, the late great Glenn Fry, and this one is "Smuggler's Blues," 10th week on the chart. I loved the MCA sleeve that the rainbow kind of
Yep.
extended into the actual 45. This is an interesting 45 because the A side is actually his big
Oh,
hit
would you
"You
look at
Belong to
that?
the City," and the B side is "Smuggler's Blues." I bought this for "You Belong to the City." That was the single at the time, and I don't know if Smuggler's Blues came out
Smuggler's Blues came out first, but I think
first.
Smuggler's Blues was from one of his albums.
It's from the All Nighter,
Right.
and this is from
The
obviously
Miami Vice
Miami
sound.
Vice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, like, Miami Vice there are a lot of famous musicians that were on,
Oh yeah.
like Phil Collins, Ted Nugent, like
Fry.
Frank Zappa, like a lot of famous musicians were ended up, and it like a little bit like Stranger Things. You had a song on Miami Vice, people knew who you were. I mean, Honeymoon Suite had a couple songs on
And they
Miami
had two
Vice.
soundtracks from Miami
Yeah,
Vice.
and let's not forget Don Johnson, that classic Heartbeat, right?
Oh God. Oh God. We should do an episode on worst songs of the 80s.
Okay, where are we? Okay, number 13.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I mean, this is a classic. This was her biggest hit, I think, in
this or Sweetest Taboo,
yeah,
probably, right?
Yeah, that's true. But Sade and Smooth
Oh,
Operator, I mean, it was different at the time, right? It was very R&B, and I mean, she could sing the telephone book and it would sound great.
and she still sounds amazing.
Yes.
And this was a song that had a extended video as well
Yes, very much so. And
with a
this was
story.
one of those videos that told a story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If someone
Uh,
asked me, this is just as an aside, Sade, I love this album. It's one of those ones that people would be like, "What, Chris, rock guy, Sade?"
you know who I read was a huge Sade fan is John Bush from Armored Saint and
Oh my
Anthrax.
gosh, that's amazing.
So you never know, right?
You never know exactly. At number
So this week,
12,
Smooth
oh,
Operated peaked at 5. This week it's down from 6 to 13.
a classic. At number 12, on its way up from one of the biggest albums of the 80s, uh, the legendary
Yep.
Phil Collins, Susudio. Not my favorite song from this album, but a great video. Lots of horns. They're playing
Yep.
live in the bar. The B side is "I Like the Way." "No Jacket Required" was massive, obviously, and Phil owned the '80s for the most part. Multiple top 10 hits, and this was on its way up. Did this reach number one? I can't.
Yes.
I thought it did.
This
Yeah,
and
yeah.
one more night, and yeah, like yeah, and Against All Odds, yeah, 3 number ones in a row,
Which is
and then a bunch of top tens.
mid '80s. You
Because
couldn't turn on
after
the
this, you
radio.
had Billy or Don't Lose That Number, and then you had Take Me Home.
"Take
Yeah,
Me
huge.
Home."
Yeah,
This you couldn't turn on the radio without
and
hearing
this was like Phil Collins was everywhere.
everywhere,
He was on
everywhere.
Miami Vice. He was producing. He was,
He was duetting with Philip Bailey,
yeah. And what was her name? Marilyn Martin. Remember
Marilyn
Separate Lives?
Martin,
They had that. Yeah, yeah. It was 85 was it, right? He played at Live Aid in London and
and then
got
flew
on the
over.
Concorde and flew to Philly. And yeah, that was. He even said, I'd have gotten sick of seeing me everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. Uh, Number 11. Now this song is interesting. It was a top 10 single. But what's interesting about this, unless much music just never played it, I don't think there's a video to this song, Madonna and Angel.
I'm not aware of a video either, but
But when you were that big, you didn't need a video.
Exactly. Entering into the top 10, we're in the home stretch.
Yeah.
Katrina and the Waves. Everyone remembers Walking on
Oh yeah.
Sunshine in its 12th week on the chart. Just a fun, feel good song that,
Yeah.
you know what? It comes on and I find myself kind of just bopping away to it.
It's hard not to like. I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, I've heard it a million times, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like it's a fun, so it literally it's a sunshiny song, and this is a summer song for me too.
And interesting too, just as a side note on Katrina and the Waves, they actually had a big push in Canada. They were on Attic
That's
Records
right. Yeah, in
in
the States they were
Canada.
on Capitol, but their albums were on Attic Records
Yeah,
in
and
Canada, and
they
I think their albums came out in Canada first.
they did, and
Yeah.
they were kind of like one of those. Attic was trying to get into some distribution for international artists, and they pushed
Yeah.
Katrina and the Waves pretty heavy.
Fascinating story. I mean, that was a huge uh one of the biggest independent labels to come out of Canada. And have you ever noticed there were a lot of labels in Canada that started with A?
Alert,
There's
Attic,
Anthem,
Anthem,
Alert,
Aquarius.
Aquarius. Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
We're
uh,
nerds.
yeah, A&M. Well, that's not. Number nine. This is a good song.
Oh yeah,
Up one. I can't remember where this peaked, but it's Cool in the Gang and Fresh.
they were another fun band,
Yeah,
right? Emergency was a great one too. Number eight, we're talking soundtracks again. A
yeah,
massive hit for this band. It was falling down the chart in its 16th week. Don't You Forget About Me from the Breakfast Club soundtrack. Again, another song written or co-written by Keith Forsey, producer
yep.
extraordinaire with Billy Idol. Billy did a cover of this. I
I was
think
going
this
to
was
say
offered to
eventually.
him originally, I
Yeah,
believe, via Keith Forsey, and he didn't record it, but did it for his greatest hits album later.
yeah.
Great song from a great movie,
Yeah. First I'd ever heard of Simple Minds.
too.
Yeah. And again, every time I listen to that song, I always zoom in on the drum track. I think Mel Gaynor was his name.
Yep.
Great, great drummer. This and Alive and Kicking, the drums on those songs is amazing. Yeah.
Sanctify
Uh,
Yourself, too.
Next up, this may have been where the song peaked. This band was put together by Rick James,
Yes,
which you
indeed.
kind of get the clue from the name of them, the Mary Jane Girls. And I remember this song, hearing this all the time in my house.
Yeah, it was played a lot and
Yeah.
another kind of I think a one-hit wonder, right? At number six on its way up. I don't know if it peaked here, but pretty close. 12 weeks on the chart. Howard Jones. I love this song. I have this
Yeah.
album.
This is another fun,
Fun 80s song.
upbeat.
Things can only get better. Howard was pretty big. No one is to blame.
Yeah, yeah, and this song was fun because it's got the horns and it's got like the clavinet. He was a keyboard player, um and what's interesting to me is like it's one of the only 80s songs I can think of where it's kind of a wordless chorus. It's just like whoa, whoa, whoa. Like
Yeah,
there
yeah,
aren't any words in the chorus, but the title line is sung right before it, and
right.
yeah, it's good. And the video, I remember the picture of the video, that was fun. Yeah, there was a lot of fun music. Um, Next up is a song that started out life on a soundtrack, but nobody remembers it.
Which is crazy.
And the album was, or the movie was called A Night in Heaven, and the song is simply titled Heaven, Bryan Adams. And this was the third single from the mega album Reckless, and this was his first to go all the way to the top. And I remember listening to the top 40 the very week that Heaven went to number one, because I remember Casey Kasem said,
Yeah.
"This is the first time a Canadian artist has topped the Billboard chart since Anne Murray in 1978 with You Needed Me."
Oh my
But
lord.
yeah, I mean, this was a number one song, and the hits weren't going to stop anytime soon,
Nope.
but this one went all the way to the top.
And the 45 has Heaven Live.
Yes, and I remember too, some radio stations every once in a while would flip it over and play the live version.
A great song, one of my favorites. I'm seeing Brian a
Steve
couple
Smith from
times.
Journey on drums.
Steve Smith from Journey on drums, a classic. Number four, on its way, I believe, a little bit higher, 12th week on the chart. This is the title track from Billy Ocean's album Suddenly. Another artist that people would be surprised that I love. This album I played nonstop. Caribbean Queen was huge. Loverboy was huge.
Yeah,
This is the ballad from this
yeah.
album. It's a classic '80s
Yeah.
ballad.
Um, and he was a guy that had been around for a long time before he finally broke. And then he had quite a string, like
He
from the
did.
mid-80s, mid to late 80s. He had a lot of big hits and yeah. Um, Number three, Holding at Three, again, the age of the soundtrack. Harold Faltermeyer with the theme music from Beverly Hills Cop and Eddie Murphy's character Axel Foley. This is Axel F. Everybody knows it. Dun, 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 dun. Like it's just a classic synth. This was when you could still have hits with instrumental songs because later this year, Jan Hammer had a number one song with the Miami Vice theme. I guess
Yep.
this must have peaked at number three, but everybody knows this song. Still gets you still hear it used for whatever today. It's in
See
movies.
where I bought this one, Tim?
I was actually trying. Oh, does that say Woolco?
It does.
Well,
249. I used
what
to
do you
buy my
know?
45s. They
Woolco,
had
for
one.
those that
Yep.
don't remember,
I worked
was
there.
I believe in the UK and in the United States it was Woolworth,
They were the
but I
parent.
think Woolco was related.
It was. It was owned by Woolworth.
But I yeah I remember shopping at Woolco. Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's a like you said, instrumental songs in the 80s had some success, right? And instrumental songs from television shows, right? You had The Greatest American Hero
yeah,
earlier. The theme from
exactly.
Magnum was
Oh
a
yeah,
hit.
yeah,
Um, this is just the great thing about the 80s.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
At number two, what can you say about this band? One of the biggest of the 80s, Wham. This was single number what? Three, I think, maybe, from their massive album Make It Big. Everything She Wants. It was a number one hit. It was off from the prior week. And this one's at number two. I will recommend this. Watch the documentary on this band as well. Excellent, excellent stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. This was a number one song, but this doesn't get the play
No,
that "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go" and "Careless Whisper" get. It doesn't seem to have that the instant recognition. You know what I read that blew my mind, just off topic a little bit. We're talking about George Michael and Wham. Everybody knows Faith. How it starts out with that organ intro. Do you know what that organ is playing? What that music is?
I do not.
It is a very slowed down version of the chorus from Freedom, also from Make It
Oh,
Big.
oh, yeah,
And and as soon as and I heard that, I was because
that's
I listened
wild.
to it, and I'm like, it works.
It does work.
It's very slow, so I have to follow along, but that's what it is. I didn't know that all these years.
Love it. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So at number one this week in 1985, this band was literally on their way to taking over the world. Um,
Absolutely.
Now, what's interesting is that their other, probably their second best well-known song, "Shout," was a hit in Canada first. This was the first big one in the States, and then they put Shout
That's
out.
right.
Tears for Fears, in its 13th week on the chart, they're up one this week, to number one with Everybody Wants to Rule the World from Songs from the Big Chair, their second album. And it was one of the biggest 80s albums. They recently released new music within the last few years. And
And I believe they're
boy,
touring
Roland
too.
Dorsabal looks different these days.
Yeah,
But
they really do. But this
but
this album was again another one for me that was the summer of '85.
yeah.
I associate with Shout, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and Head Over Heels, another classic,
Oh
Mother's
yeah, yeah.
Talk. It's a an
Yeah,
'80s.
Mother's Talk too. Yeah, people forget about that one, but that was a big song.
Exactly, exactly. Well, that's it. That's the
Yeah.
Hot 100 for June
Yeah,
8th.
and really, I think once you get into the top 50, I think pretty much know all of these, most of the songs. But yeah, there are some at the beginning of the chart where I'd love for someone to fill me in on what these, if there's anything.
Absolutely. Let us know.
I mean, the really fun thing about it is sometimes you go back and say, well, what was that? And you go listen to it and you go, I remember this. And that's fun when that happens because it's like
Oh,
it unlocks something inside of your brain.
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
it's fun to revisit these things, right? And find stuff that you might have missed or you didn't know, like you said, and along with the classics.
So, Chris, I want to thank you for doing this. Folks, follow Chris on all the socials, My Rock and Roll Heaven. He always posts great content, and we'll have him back on and do another chart because
Absolutely.
we really like doing these ones. If you haven't been able to tell, and hopefully, I think people seem to like watching them too. All
Great.
right, everybody, thanks for watching this edition. I hope you enjoyed our look back 40 years ago, Billboard chart this date. Thanks for watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions.